The sound was worse than the pain. A wet, sickening thud of a boot hitting a soft belly shattered the festive Christmas Eve air. Ellen, a woman of 60, wrapped in the red velvet and white fur of Mrs. Claus, collapsed on the icy pavement of Brookhaven High's courtyard. The spirit of the season felt punctured. Her basket of candy canes scattered across the snow, red and white shards marking the trail of her humiliation. Above her, 3 young men in blue and yellow varsity jackets laughed brave for Brookhaven, their bold beasts stitched over their hearts. Santa hats perched arrogantly on their heads, their breath fogging the air not from exertion, but from twisted glee. The blond one flexed the foot he'd just used to kick a defenseless woman. "Ho, ho, ho, ho," he sneered, spitting out words of pure cruelty. The scene was a Christmas card torn apart. Twinkling lights and wreaths bore witness to this unthinkable cruelty. As Ellen gasped, the world narrowed to the burn in her side and the shattered candy under her fingers. Phones rose, recording. Parents and teens in holiday sweaters stood frozen, a mosaic of shock and, on some faces, a terrifying complicity. This was where kindness died, buried under fake snow and real fear. But what these boys didn't see was the shadowy figure at the edge of the parking lot. A biker in a leather jacket, face hardened by years on the road, stood with a focused calm. Behind him, a loyal German shepherd, ears pricked, eyes locked. Before we see what happens next, if you believe in justice in the light and standing up against the darkest shadows, hit subscribe and join us right now on Hidden Heroes. This story is for everyone who's ever felt powerless, and it's just beginning. Ellen wasn't just playing Mrs. Claus. She'd been the heart of Brookhaven's Christmas Eve festival for 28 years. Since her own son Michael was a boy with eyes that sparkled at twinkle lights. Widowed for a decade, the festival became her tether to joy, to community, to the memory of her husband Frank. The candy canes she bought with her pension, the suit she sewed herself. The Brookhaven Braves, the town's football champions, had grown entitled, shielded by privilege. Complaints were dismissed. "Boys will be boys," the police chief said. Ellen knew, but she still believed in the spirit of the season. The blond bully Troy Jensen led the pack, his future paved by his father's power. Ellen, in her costume, was just scenery to them. But systems of oppression always underestimate the quiet ones, the kind ones with nothing left to lose but their dignity, and everything to protect in the memory of those they love. When Ellen offered candy canes, Troy mocked her. "Shouldn't you be in a home?" The laughter was brittle. Ellen smiled, but her voice trembled. "The spirit of Christmas is ageless, young man. I think your mother would agree." Troy's face darkened. He swatted her basket, then backhanded her, sending the candy canes flying. A gasp came from the crowd, but no one moved. Ellen knelt, gathering the scattered treats. "I pray you find the kindness you so clearly lack tonight." Troy's pride could not tolerate being dismissed. He drew back his boot. The world exploded in pain as he kicked her. Ellen lay on the cold ground, tears mixing with melted snow. The laughter felt like stones. Then, a new sound, the deep, guttural growl. All heads turned. The biker stepped forward, his dog at his side, teeth bared. The energy around him was absolute. "Step away from her," he commanded, his voice cold and flat. For a glorious moment, Troy's bravado cracked. The biker didn't shout. He didn't move fast. He simply stood, and the crowd held its breath. But Troy puffed out his chest. "This is my town. You're nobody." The biker didn't blink. "You have 3 seconds to get away from that woman, or I decide you're a direct threat." The crowd froze. Troy, fueled by panic, turned his back on the biker and kicked Ellen again. Her cry cut through the air. The biker's eyes didn't change, but something shifted. The air grew colder. He assessed the boys, the crowd, the distance. Protocol screamed in his head. Assess, control, neutralize. Seeing Ellen in the red suit, so much like his own mother's old photos. A cold fury settled over him. This was no longer just an intervention. It was a mission. Ellen felt utterly alone. The festive lights blurred. The cheerful carols mocked her. This was how it ended, beaten by children, while her own child was far away. The despair was a black hole, swallowing all the Christmas magic, all her faith. But as Troy raised his foot for another kick, a voice sliced through the night. Mrs. Henderson, the retired librarian, shouted with a whip of outrage. Then Joe, the mechanic, stepped forward. One by one, the silent majority found its voice. The dam broke. The biker saw the shift. He knelt beside Ellen, his back to the threat. "Ma'am," he said gently, "I'm Ben. You're safe. Where does it hurt?" Ellen opened her eyes, meeting the biker's steady gaze. She shook her head. Ben's fingers probed her ribs. "Help is coming." He looked over his shoulder at Troy, now arguing with angry parents. The tide had turned, but the battle wasn't over. The police cruiser arrived. Chief Daniels tried to play it off. "Break it up. What's the fuss?" Troy spun a tale. The biker was the aggressor. Ellen, with Ben's help, spoke up. "He kicked me twice." They all laughed. The crowd erupted. Ben rose, facing the chief. "My name is Ben Reeves, a member of the Black Hawks Motorcycle Club. My mother is Eleanor Reeves, and I witnessed your good kid assault her." The chief floundered. Ben continued, "There's video evidence. Before you consider deleting it, know I've already reported this to my club's leadership and law enforcement. This is now a matter of public record. Arrest them properly, or I'll bring people here who don't care who your dad is." The chief had no choice. He secured the evidence. Troy and his friends were arrested. The story went viral. Charges were filed. At trial, Ellen spoke of her community and the betrayal she felt. Ben sat behind her, a steady pillar. Troy was sentenced. The police chief resigned. A town-wide reckoning began. 1 year later, the Brookhaven Festival was different, quieter, more sincere. Eleanor, now in a simple red sweater, handed out candy canes. A memorial plaque for Frank stood nearby. Ben was overseas, but his presence lived on in her strength. Ellen became a symbol of resilience. She visited schools to talk about kindness and speaking up. She received a letter from Troy, read once and put away, forgiving, but not forgetting. The story ends with Ellen looking out at families, children with wide eyes, like some pure, untrampled snow. The memory of the boot and pain remains, but it's overlaid with something stronger. Her son's voice saying, "You're safe." The memory of Mrs. Henderson's shout. The memory of a community finding its conscience. The greatest gift wasn't under a tree. It was the rediscovery that light, no matter how small, can never truly be extinguished by darkness. It just needs the courage to shine. This Christmas and every day, remember, you are never as alone as you think. Your worth is not defined by the boots that kick you, but by the strength with which you rise. From which part of the country are you watching this video on Hidden Heroes?